Hey guys, Jonathan Rice here, licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about some accounting softwares, and I feel like I've been picking on FreshBooks a lot lately, and that's because I am. I like FreshBooks, I don't have an issue with them, but today we're going to be talking about some FreshBook alternatives. So for those of you who don't know, FreshBooks is an accounting software that really finds its niche in project management, billable hours, things like that. It's great for professionals, it's great for photographers, it's great for people who are like contractors who need to closely track project costs. It's great for things like that. The other thing is it's great for simple accounting dashboards. So that's what kind of ties it all together. If you're using FreshBooks, you're probably someone who's just getting their feet wet, maybe a business owner who's just running a small micro business, trying to figure out if it's for you, getting your feet wet, and you don't want to pay a ton of money. FreshBooks is literally made for you. And that's great. FreshBooks does a good job of filling that role. It's not as robust as QuickBooks. It's not as automated as Puzzle. It's not as diverse as Xero, some of the items that we're going to talk about today. So with that in mind, it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison. FreshBooks is good at one thing and the other platforms are good at another. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and see what some of these other platforms do better or do worse than FreshBooks. First up on the list, we're going to talk about QuickBooks. Everyone knows what QuickBooks is. Everyone who's in the accounting space has used QuickBooks. It's ubiquitous, and there's a reason for that. QuickBooks is really good at a lot of things. So you can be a general contractor who is slinging $15 million a year in gross revenue and running 15 different projects. QuickBooks can track that. It can do a project cost basis. It does not do things like inventory or contra accounts or revenue accruals very easily. You can make accounts and you can make it work, and that's why QuickBooks is as famous as it is, because it can do just about anything. You can be a guitar shop, you can be a general contractor, you can be somebody who's a retail vendor or somebody who's selling home goods, and QuickBooks will do it all. And typically what you'll find is QuickBooks will hook up to your point of sale system and help run that. And so it does a lot of things really well, and that's something that FreshBooks just kind of struggles with. FreshBooks is better for those small businesses who are just looking for simplicity. And QuickBooks can be very overwhelming, and that's probably the biggest con whenever you compare QuickBooks to FreshBooks. The other thing is QuickBooks is going to be a lot more detailed in terms of reporting things that you need, whereas FreshBooks is going to have a profit and loss, a cash flow statement, balance sheet, stuff like that. QuickBooks is going to have everything from payroll reports, statement of cash flows, details by customer, details by vendors. Any report under the sun QuickBooks is going to have. And so those are the pros and cons if you're kind of thinking about using QuickBooks over FreshBooks. The next guy that we're going to talk about is Puzzle. So Puzzle is the new kid on the block. So what sets Puzzle apart from FreshBooks? Well, first and foremost, Puzzle is AI powered. And when I say that, I mean it, like deep down, truly in my heart. And the reason I say that is a lot of these legacy accounting softwares like Xero, like QuickBooks, like FreshBooks, like Wave, a lot of them claim to have AI powered solutions within their accounting platform. And that's great, they do. But a lot of those AI items are bolt-ons, they're an afterthought, and so they don't play very well with the entirety of the software platform. Whereas Puzzle's a little different. Puzzle's different because it was built with AI in mind. It was centered around the focus that we want to use artificial intelligence and weave it within every single fiber of this software. And so with that, you get a ton of time saving. It gets rid of a lot of manual data entry, and then it can help flag things. And so Puzzle does a really good job of taking that load off of the management's shoulders. They don't have to bear that time cost whenever they're doing things like getting GAAP compliant financials ready. So I'm at their home screen. I'm not in a demo environment because we're just quickly running through some FreshBooks alternatives here. But one of the things I really enjoy about Puzzle is the user interface that they have within the platform. So here you can see this is a screenshot of their dashboard. as soon as you log in, you're greeted with tons of useful information that is actually going to be relevant to why you logged into the accounting platform in the first place. So you have items like cash flow, what's your spend, what's your burn, what's your revenue month over month, stuff like that. And a lot of accounting platforms do have a dashboard similar to this, but Puzzle just really ties it all together. Like when I log into QuickBooks, QuickBooks has the same thing. I have never one time looked at it because it just doesn't catch my eye. It's not really thought out in my opinion, whereas Puzzle says here's the key demographics that you need to know to run your business successfully for the next 3 months, the next 6 months. It's all right there. It's super easy, and you can drill into that, and then it can reveal the transactions behind that or the GL accounts behind that compose those numbers. And so they have really great reporting. Other stuff, their AI, like I said, is very, very hands-on. So it learns as you code expenses, it learns as you send out invoices. It's going to try to say, hey, do you want to send this out monthly so you don't forget? Or do you want to automatically book this expense because I see the word tires because you went to a tire shop, for instance. Is that a vehicle expense? And it's going to help learn over time and take a lot of that off your plate. And then you just have to quickly review at the end of the month or at the end of the week or whenever your accounting period demands it, and you're good to go. And it saves a ton of time that way. One of my favorite things that Puzzle does, though, is, and this is because I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, I get in the weeds a lot. One of my favorite things that it does is it allows for really technical accounting. So one of my biggest complaints with QuickBooks is they don't have a great inventory management system. Like if you're retail, it's really hard to track your inventory. It's tons of journal entries, tons of line items. You're typically relying on a third party like Square or your point of sale to port that information into QuickBooks. It's just clunky, it doesn't work. And so a lot of times you're gonna have to do a journal entry at the end of the month doing a basic cost of goods sold calculation and back into that number. Puzzle is very detailed, it's very in-depth, and it allows you to do that within the platform. No spreadsheets, no third parties. I've been pretty blown away with some of those technical items. Other things that it allows that I have wished upon for other platforms is it's got really good accrual accounting, really good recurring entry management, and one of the simplest things that I like is a completely customizable chart of accounts. Those chart of accounts, sometimes I find issues with, I need to create a contra revenue account or I need to create a contra expense account just to make the P&L work in order to fix a mistake from last year or something like that. You can't do that in a lot of platforms. I'm looking at you, QuickBooks. You do a lot of things, but you don't do that. Puzzle will let you. And so there's some very detailed items that you can do within Puzzle that I really enjoy. Overall, it's very polished, very well put together. And I would definitely consider using it if you're a software as a service, recurring revenue business, mid-sized business. There are some drawbacks we're not going to get into in this video, such as it's a little bit pricier than some of the other platforms, but overall what you pay is what you get. And Puzzle is definitely one of those higher caliber platforms, and I've really enjoyed working with it. So moving along from Puzzle, we have one of the older players in the game, been around a while, one of the first cloud accounting softwares. We're going to be talking about Xero. Xero is basically, I guess, runs toe-to-toe with QuickBooks, not quite as big as QuickBooks, but their claim to fame is they brought everything online first. So you can have teams that interact with one another. You're actively doing your work on the cloud. This is back in like 2006 when that was kind of like a new thought, new thing. So that is how Xero became as ubiquitous as it is. So Xero is a lot like QuickBooks. It's good at a lot of things, and that's what makes it so popular. It's reasonably priced. It does those basic accounting things. It lets you track your expenses, record your invoices, who you bill. It's got a great set of reporting. And then you can run payroll within the software. So Xero definitely is one of those kind of catch-all software platforms that is, as long as you're comfortable with maybe having fewer forums out there if you run into a bug or something like that as compared to QuickBooks, for instance, it will probably work for your small business. Let's see. A couple other key call-outs comparing Xero to FreshBooks is they're both pretty streamlined. They're both kind of meant to be easy to navigate. They're not going to be as convoluted or complicated as QuickBooks is or as Puzzle is. Those are really more technical accounting softwares that really require a team if you're running a decent sized business. You know, bookkeeper, maybe a staff accountant, a controller, and then management, something like that. Xero and FreshBooks, you can do it. Basically, it's kind of their pitch. You, the business owner, if you don't want to hire a bookkeeper, if you don't want to hire a CPA, you can do it, and that's really attractive for a lot of people. Other things is the price. FreshBooks and Xero are relatively affordable. You can see here their prices to suit businesses from all types, whether you're a small business or a mid-sized business. It's relatively pretty cheap. And so that's really a big draw for a lot of businesses. One other thing that Xero does very well is they manage sales tax. So QuickBooks does a very good job of that. I'm not sure how well FreshBooks does, but depending on your locale, your region, it's going to help you calculate your sales tax rates and then apply the correct sales tax to your product or service. Now, where it does struggle is if you are located in Arizona, for instance, and you're shipping something to Louisiana, it can get a little tricky on what sales tax to apply for that. And so you just need to make sure you're double checking Xero, you're double checking the software, making sure you're collecting the right amount of tax, you're correcting it at the right time. Is sales tax paid by the customer because it's going intrastate, stuff like that. So there are some nuances. Overall, Xero is going to have a pretty robust reporting platform. It's similar to QuickBooks. It's a little bit deeper than FreshBooks, but not as deep as Puzzle. So it is a viable alternative if you kind of want something in between FreshBooks, but not quite as strenuous as QuickBooks or Puzzle. It'll fall in there in that it does have a very broad reporting base. One of the final features that I would like to compare for Xero versus Puzzle versus FreshBooks versus QuickBooks is the ability to run payroll out of the platform. You can run payroll out of FreshBooks. You can run it out of Xero. You can run it out of QuickBooks. Puzzle, however, typically it looks like, based off the demos and the times I've used it, would prefer you to have a third-party platform provider for payroll, and then Puzzle's AI will automatically book those journal entries to record your payroll expense. So there could be some additional incurred costs there. Payroll can be kind of tricky, and so I like to keep it all under one umbrella. But as long as you've got good record keeping and you have a trusted partner like Paychex or ADP, you're not going to have any issues running your payroll out of the platform. But overall, there are plenty of alternatives out there. FreshBooks works. Puzzle excels, QuickBooks works, Xero is somewhere in between. They're all available, they're all easy to use, they all fill their niches, and you need to consider what type of small business you're running that's going to best suit the platform that you choose in order to successfully keep your books and successfully see if you're going to be a profitable business. Hope this video helps. Thanks for watching.